Hey, Brett Bauer here. I'll try to do this really quickly. I'm trying to think through some things, and while it's on my mind, I got to deal with it, so bear with me. I also wanted to use this as a way to explain to people and hopefully apologize, because there's times that I know that people that don't know me really well don't know about something I went through 20 plus years ago. So they may be offended and wonder why I do sometimes occasionally still struggle with remembering people's names. And it's always embarrassing to me when I run into somebody that, I may have worked with them on a set multiple times over the years, and run into them and they probably leave thinking, why does that guy act like he doesn't remember my name? I'll explain more in a little bit, but I have a weird memory, and I don't know, like I've talked about recently, I've always wondered, I might be on the spectrum, I don't know, but, and I may run into you, and because I have a brain that's wired in an abnormal fashion, I might be able to tell you what the temperature was like 12 years ago when we met, and what you ordered for lunch, and the color of the shirt you were wearing, but the Rolodex of my brain is quickly searching and trying to find your name, and it may not be able to find it as quickly as I wish it would. So please just bear with me when it comes to things like that. If I ask you, like, please tell me your name again. I know it, I know who you are, but I may not be able to find it as fast as I wish I could. Some of you know about this, probably most of you don't, but this story keeps coming to my mind lately more and more often, and I can't get away from this. This is what I was referencing before when I made a post asking, my writer friends, my people that write screenplays, when do you know that a story needs to be told? I've been trying to run away from this story because I don't want to write it, but it won't let me go, and it keeps chasing me down, and it's not like I'm writing the story, it's like the story is writing me, and maybe I'm supposed to deal with this because maybe there are people that can relate to it out there, or can at least tell me, I find this interesting enough that I would like to see that developed into a screenplay and perhaps a movie one day. I don't know, but I've just got to deal with this while I'm thinking about it. Very long story, condensed, and again, just bear with me here because I'm just trying to think through how to explain this to people that don't know. If nothing else, if you only know me through social media, and maybe I'm just kind of that goofy Brett guy that you're like, I don't know, he kind of makes me laugh sometimes or whatever, maybe you'll know me a little bit better from this. 20 plus years ago, with my life going absolutely nowhere, being nothing but a starving actor, and I know that term starving actor or starving artist gets thrown around a lot as a joke. I'm somebody that, due to my own stupid choices many decades ago, in the most visceral, literal sense, I know what the term starving actor means. And I was desperately trying to see if I can make the transition from being, a theater kid into maybe getting into on-camera acting. I still don't know why there was an agent that took a chance on me. It took me years to save up to finally get some actual headshots, but I had no training other than having done a lot of theater, but they took a chance on me. I had never even been an extra. I had never done anything on camera. I knew nothing about how to audition or do anything in the world in terms of what this on-camera acting profession is. And after several months of being on their roster, not knowing what the heck I was doing, I get a call out of the blue of telling me, hey, you booked this job just straight from a headshot. All I remember about it was I was supposed to be like a Roman soldier, a centurion. There was maybe me and a couple other guys that were supposed to be, kind of featured extras. This was something that would have been shooting many, many years ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But that call changed my life in many, many ways. I'll get to where this story goes, but I was super excited because, I had nothing going for me at the time at all. Could barely make ends meet. And I get this job. I'm so excited. I finally get to see what's it like to be on a set. Because like I said, I had never auditioned on camera for anything in my life. I had never even been an extra. I knew nothing about acting other than some theater over the years. And so it's early morning call time, and I'm driving on the outskirts of Tulsa, and I have not much memory of the event. I can remember my car up to a certain point, and then it's blank for a while. I remember waking up in my car, and I didn't know where I was. I didn't know whose car I was in, because the glove compartment was sitting in my lap, and the broken glass. I didn't know whose blood. Why? I don't think I'm in my car, because why is this car covered in blood everywhere? And why is there broken glass? And how in the world is the glove compartment sitting in my lap? I heard the voices of the people trying to talk to me in the car and ask me questions. I don't know if that was just the eyewitnesses at first, or if that was already the EMTs and the ambulance and everything. I remember hearing voices. I don't remember seeing any of their faces at all. I still didn't know what was happening, other than as I'm coming to, I am slowly piecing together the fact that this is my car, and that's my blood. And obviously something bad had happened, but I didn't know what yet. I have no memory of being removed from the car and being in a stretcher and put into an ambulance. I have a little bit of memory of being in the ambulance and having sort of a sense of humor still about it, and being quite coherent, because they asked me, what day of the week is it? Because they're trying to ascertain how bad of a hit did he take to the head. And I told them, I don't know what day it is. But I said, please don't hold that against me. I never know what day of the week it is. But I could remember, my name and who was the president and what town am I in. It fades in and out from there, because I don't remember, from the ambulance to the hospital. I remember being in the hospital and being coherent enough to explain to someone, here, can you call this phone number, reach my parents at my dad's office. And I was coherent enough to tell them, before you even explain who you are or say what happened, the first words out of your mouth, I want them to be, Brett is okay. Say that first before you explain to him that he's in the hospital and here's what happened, because I knew they would freak out if it wasn't phrased a certain way, because I know my family real well. The next thing I can remember is being in the hospital room, and the police officer who took the report and had interviewed all the eyewitnesses is the first one that it's really explaining to me what happened and why am I there. I had figured out that I must have been in a car wreck, but he's explaining to me what happened, and the first thing he told me, he said, you shouldn't be here. He told me he didn't understand. He didn't see it happen, but he talked to the people that saw it happen, and none of them understand what they saw, because it defies logic and physics and gravity and things that are normal in this world. And what they all saw doesn't make sense. They all told the cops that they've never seen a car move like that it moved in a way that was not human, that something was moving it in a different way than cars can move, and turning in a fashion that it can't turn that sharply, that a car can't do that. And he's showing me the diagram he made of the tire tread and the path that my car traveled. And he's explaining to me that what I was hit by wasn't just a car or a truck, it was a fully loaded dump truck. I can't even imagine how many tons that was if it's traveling at 65 miles an hour and hits my car, and how am I still alive? But the police officer in my hospital room keeps telling me that he doesn't understand how he's talking to me and why I wasn't killed on impact, because I should have been. And I know that I have plenty of people I know through social media, and we're all from different walks of life and have a myriad of things that we may or may not believe, but he was telling me whether it was an army of angels or something moving my car, or the literal hand of God lifting it up, because gravity stopped working for 7 seconds at this intersection. And it doesn't make any sense, because I'm the type of person that likes to deal with logic and facts, and it doesn't make sense. And I've kind of pushed this story out of my mind for decades, but it keeps popping into my brain at weird times, and I keep feeling like I'm supposed to write this, that I'm supposed to try to develop this into a screenplay or something. And I remember getting excited at one point last year, because enough of the story was coming to me that I realized I could flesh this out. But then early this year, I got super depressed when I realized I couldn't make it work. I was hitting brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, and I could not power through it. I couldn't get over it. I couldn't get around it. Every which way I turned was a dead end. And so I thought, all right, I want nothing to do with this story, and I shelved it. I never deleted it, and was quite depressed for months because I wanted nothing to do with this story, but it keeps following me and I can't get away from it. So maybe some of you can tell me, do you find this compelling enough that I should try to explore this, because I don't really know how to make this happen. I love acting. It's my full-time job, acting and doing voiceovers, and I love directing. I haven't done it in a long time, but I used to do a lot of screenwriting and directing back in the day, but it was always just things I'm funding with the money in my back pocket and a small crew. I mean, I'm talking a crew of 3 people, 5, 6. At one point, the biggest thing I ever did, it was a crew of maybe a dozen people. But I have full confidence in my ability to direct something on a larger scale budget. If I can get this going as a full screenplay and shoot it here in Oklahoma, it's such a personal story. It's not something that I could just write as a screenplay and try to give it to somebody else to do what they want with it. It's too personal to me. But it terrifies me, the idea of trying to direct something and trying to watch actors that would have to play my mom and dad, or somebody to play me. Like, I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to direct something on that type of a scale, on that type of a budget, because it's beyond what I can do, because I am not a wealthy person by any means, and most of the times the things that I want to do and explore, the answer is always no, because I don't have the money. And some of you might remember late last year, around New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, that I made a post because I was starting to remember details about that wreck that had been locked away in this weird brain of mine for many decades, and it made me excited and also terrified, and I quickly turned my phone on because I wanted to remember what it was that I was remembering for the first time after decades. And the day the wreck happened, I do remember being quite thankful to still be alive. But the next day, or maybe 2 days later, I remember getting really mad because during the wreck, I have no memory of seeing what the actual car on the outside looked like. But a couple days later, I actually saw the car. I got really mad because I didn't want to be on this planet anymore, because I saw that car and it finally became real of what I really went through. And it makes no logical sense how I came out of a car that was crushed that bad, but also the severity of how I was hit and the weight of that fully loaded dump truck and the speed that it was going. The damage to my car should have been even worse. And it would be really hard to explain the path that my car traveled, because I was hit by that truck twice. It doesn't make sense. Even after I saw the diagram that the cop had made, I was hit on the passenger side and also hit head on. And I had hardly a scratch on me. I had one teeny tiny cut above an eyebrow, and then I have the scar that's on the back of my head where I did have to get stitches, but I had hardly a scratch on me. And the fact that all the glass didn't even shatter, I should have been picking shards of glass out of my face. That entire thing should have caved in on me, but it didn't. And I still don't understand, how was the glove box sitting on my lap unless somebody put it there? There's a question. They were telling me in the hospital, some of the EMTs that were on site, they told me about a question they kept asking me over and over again, and they told me that the way I answered it didn't make any sense to them, and they were assuming that maybe I'm just out of it and very woozy due to having a massive concussion and everything. But when I made that post months ago with that little video clip, the thing that I was remembering after 23 years or however long it was, I can now remember the question they asked me, and I can I can remember being in the car, and it doesn't make any sense what I was saying over and over and why I would answer this question this way. But I can remember answering it now, and I think I know what I meant. And that's what I'm trying to find in this story. And I know this is freaking confusing to a lot of you because I'm talking so cryptically, but it's not going to make sense if I tell you. You're not going to understand what I'm talking about. And maybe that's what I'm trying to tell through this story, if I can even figure out how to do this. I think I know what the question they asked me means, and I think I know what the answer I kept saying over and over and over sitting in that crushed car means, and maybe that's what this story is about, if I can somehow make this happen. I'll wrap this up because I know I'm probably confusing a lot of you, and if there's anybody still watching by this point, pat yourself on the back. Thank you for your time. I happen to be in Tulsa at my mom's while I'm recording this, and this is another reason that I wanted to deal with it now while it's on my mind, because I saw that there's an article, because I was living in Shawnee when I was recuperating from all this and dealing with all the short-term memory loss and trying to remember people's names, and sitting on my couch looking through photo albums and quizzing myself on people's names that I couldn't remember anymore, and trying to do it faster and flip through the whole album and see how long it takes me to remember each person's name, and then time myself and do it again and see if I can do it faster and faster, because I'm getting scared thinking that these people's names are going to fall out of my brain forever. And one of the names that I could not remember was my best friend at the time, Michelle, that we used to sing together a lot. I could not remember her name. After a while, the only letter I could come up with was, I think I knew that her name started with an M, but that's all I had. This is what I saw just now that prompted me to turn my camera on and get these thoughts out of my head while they're there. I have not seen this article in years, but I'll never forget the way it started. And maybe that's what this movie is about. That she starts the article with, after the wreck that should have killed him, the man who didn't die spent weeks wondering why. And so maybe decades later, that's why this story won't let me go, is that I'm still trying to figure out how to tell this, and that maybe people can relate to it on some level. So thank you very much for your time and listening to this as I ramble and try to explain why my brain works a certain way and about that event itself. And again, thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.